Igniting, inspiring, and evoking the fire within.
And so my advice would be get good at receiving. Don't think of it as grabbing or taking, but just allowing. Just allow the compliment, allow the help, allow the good. Because if you can't receive and you keep asking the universe to send you something, a partner, a different job, more financial abundance, if that's what you're asking the universe to do, but you're bad at receiving, it won't be able to get it to you. And so it starts with being a good receiver, I think.
You're listening to the What's Your Inspiration podcast with Fox Beyer.
On this episode of the What's Your Inspiration podcast, we have author Catherine DeMonte. Catherine has been a psychotherapist for 3 decades. She created small group 8-session abundance circles in 2016 when she realized all her clients seemed to have one big thing missing in them, which created deep regret and sadness. Could be a partner or baby or work they loved or financial security. Whatever it was for them, this feeling that something was missing in their life was often what drove them into therapy in the first place. Out of these circles, Beep Beep, Get Out of My Way, 7 Tools for Powerful Creation and Living Your Unstoppable Life was created. In July, her book, Beep Beep, Get Out of My Way, Companion Guided Journal came out. Both are available on Amazon. This should be fun. Here we go. Hello and welcome to episode 63 of the What's Your Inspiration podcast. Today, a friend of a friend on, and I'm really thinking this will develop into a further friendship. She was connected through last month's guest, Suzanne Casamento, author and psychotherapist for 3 decades, Catherine DeMonte. Catherine, how are you today?
I am doing well, thank you. It's really nice to sit with you. Thank you for having me.
It's, as I always say, it is my pleasure. We are connected again through Suzanne, and the process developed quickly. I've dug into your book, Beep Beep, Get Out of My Way, and we want to get into that. And of course, the people, places, and things that continue to put you on the path that you're on today. In your book, Beep Beep, Get Out of My Way, you talk about these abundance circles. And I wanted you to explain to the listeners where the seeds to these abundance circles were planted and what exactly they are.
Certainly. The seeds to them were planted through my psychotherapy practice. I noticed that regardless of why somebody came into therapy, whether it was over an affair, in a marriage, or grief work, or parenting, or whatever it was, that there were certain things I often shared with people that were helpful. So in other words, regardless of why they were in, these things helped. I just called them tools, that I found useful. And since they were sprinkled in many, many sessions, I was thinking that gathering them together and sharing them collectively would be even more powerful. And doing that in a group would be exponentially more powerful, because I would share the tools that make a really big difference in a lot of lives. And people speaking about what they're trying to attract or change in their life out loud makes it real in the world. And so doing it in a group would make it even more powerful. And then others supporting that as they spoke was an added bonus. So that's how the circles came to be. So it was a branch of my private practice, but thinking that the work could go deeper and more quickly if it was done in a circle with some structure.
The power of community, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There's something to that, isn't there, to having a tribe of people who are supporting you and that you're supporting as well.
And just proof that there are always other people out there that may feel the same way that you do about certain things.
Yeah.
COVID-19 is the pandemic, but in your line of work, what is the worldwide pandemic in your eyes?
Wow. The worldwide, and I love that you reminded us that this is happening globally, and every single person on the planet had to pause, not just one nation or one country. So all of us at once are needing, I believe, to go inward, stop, look at what's important, get in touch with things that aren't working, fix them, whether that's internal or external or both. It really put the brakes on how we were living. And ideally, what we'll come away with is making changes in the places that weren't working, rather than trying to go back to, quote, normal, that we will never go back. And normal wasn't working to start with.
I got you. That's going to lead us into a question later on in this interview, the question of this word normal. Catherine, in your book, you write, in your book, Beep, Beep, Get Out of My Way, you write, one can have deep and profound sympathy for others without absorbing their pain. Can you explain that?
Yes, thank you. So to me, empathy means being there for a person and really witnessing what they're going through and holding space for them, but not absorbing it into our body. To me, that would be more like sympathy, where I'm now sort of merged with you and I'm feeling it too. Or if I was a therapist and I brought home every client's issue, I would probably fall apart and not be any good to anybody. But empathy to me means being able to really be there for you without absorbing it.
We know thoughts can cause sickness. I mean, I'm sure you have a first row view of that over the last 3 decades. The effect of thoughts.
Yeah, it can affect sickness, illness. It also can create patterns we don't want, or that we say we don't want, but we ruminate on it so much that we attract it. Thoughts are so powerful.
It's an SAT word right there, ruminate.
Oh,
yeah, definitely. That's a heavy word. That's a heavy word. How often do you use that word in your practice?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not quite sure, but probably a fair amount.
I'm sure you'll be ruminating on that question for
Yes, I will be.
So this is good. I can intellectually practice some things with you here.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just amazing how, from talking to you, what patterns develop from thoughts, and what good or bad things can come from them. And anybody listening, you'll know right away as you read Catherine's book, Beep, Beep, Get Out of My Way. She writes a couple of stories early on in the book about her path to where you are today, and your husband's path as well. They are very, very intriguing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting what we attract in our partners and brings up our own stuff. That needs looking at.
It does, and sometimes you don't know it until years down the road. I don't know if it was that way for you, but
definitely
for me, with friendships I've created, that's certainly been the case.
Yeah, and you're so right. It can be years down the road before we notice those patterns.
They just develop seemingly out of nowhere. Now, it's time to learn a little bit more about you. We're going to play a game called What, Which, and Where.
Okay.
Typically, what I do to prep for this interview is have you answer a questionnaire to get to learn a little bit about you before we chat here on the air. So I reviewed some of your answers to my questions, and I'm going to dig into some of your passions and see if you can hit some bullseyes over the next couple of minutes.
Okay.
So,
Sounds
Catherine,
fun.
are you ready?
I am ready.
Excellent. So the first quote goes like this. Who said it, Catherine? The wound is the place where the light enters you.
That's a good question, because Rumi said it, but oh gosh, what's his name? Leonard. I'm so embarrassed I can't remember the singer.
Leonard Cohen, is that right?
Cohen, thank you. I kept wanting to say Leonard Skinner. I knew that wasn't right.
Leonard Skinner. You might believe that too.
Yes.
The band name.
Yeah, and Leonard Cohen said something very similar. But yes, Rumi said that, and I really love that quote. It's where, and I believe that that's so true. That's where it's in the crack, isn't it? Mm-hmm. The light comes in.
You've touched on it a little bit. What impact has that quote had on your life?
It's had a beautiful impact in that it helps me know that the painful places or our shadow work or things we bump into, the rough things, aren't necessarily bad. In fact, they can be very good, in that by looking at what that situation or that pain brings up, we can find the most beautiful work that needs to be done and create such deep healing. It literally is where the light is, where the good is. If we can get past the pain and look inward and at what wants to be known. And that's what I'm calling the light, the part that's beautiful and needs to be known, that is out of the way of our awareness and therefore in the dark.
There's chocolate at the end of the tunnel. You just keep digging. It is there. It's there. It's like a kid digging for a sand crab at the beach.
Right? Yes. Exactly.
Very, very cool. Very cool. So, Catherine, 1 for 1. I'm gonna give it to you because you almost gave us a bonus answer, Leonard Cohen. So 1.5 out of 1 on the first question.
Okay.
All right. So, are you ready for number 2?
Yes, I am.
All right. I don't make any pretense out of being normal. Who said that?
Oh, who said that? I've heard that. It should be Christopher Walken. I don't know.
That's true.
Who is it?
It's not Christopher Walken. I'll give you a second guess. Also an actor.
I have heard it. Who was it? A male?
Male actor.
Male actor. I'm stumped.
Male actor whose documentary I think you're currently viewing or just finished.
Tom Shadyac? No.
No?
Oh, Val Kilmer. Yes,
Kilmer.
That's right. Val Kilmer. Yes, I love that documentary. Val. It's fascinating.
Yes, totally fascinating. My sister turned me on to his book, I'm Your Huckleberry, about a year ago, and I'm a bit of a child of the 80s. I was born in 78, so as I grew up, there's Top Gun, Tombstone, all of these things, 80s and 90s, and Val's right in the front and center. Mm-hmm. He's had a tough row to hoe in the past bunch of years. He's an inspiring human being in spirit.
He really is, isn't he? There's so much more to him than I ever knew. I didn't know him well because I didn't watch those movies much. But wow, I was so moved by the documentary. And it really is a good reminder of what we've gone through as children informs our adult life and our psyche, doesn't it? Doesn't that film demonstrate that so beautifully without having that be the premise, that just can't help but catch that what we've gone through as children has a huge impact.
Sure it does. It's in many cases completely undeniable. And then I think in Val's case, admittedly, she's very open about that. His upbringing with unfortunate death of his brother at 15 years old. And his parents split, but he's very open and honest about it. And that's I think, one of the things I appreciate the most.
Very raw, open.
Going back to that quote, I don't make any pretense about being normal. Well, why don't you fill in your own quote? Normal is what?
Normal is an anomaly in that there really is no one size fits all. I don't think. I'm trying to learn to embrace the things that I would have considered abnormal or different 30 years ago. That's my that's my answer to what is normal. I think normal is too constrictive of a word, probably in terms of people and in terms of culture. And I embrace it and the fact that there are so many differences.
So do I have your permission to put peanut butter on pizza? Is that okay?
Yes, you sure can anytime and enjoy. You have fun with that.
Have fun with that. Oh boy. It's just more about my love of peanut butter. I don't know.
It's pretty yummy.
It is. That is not an anomaly, but excellent. So, okay. Well, 1.5 out of 2. We dug and we got Val Kilmer in there. And the third quote in What, Which, and Where, Catherine, is this: "For me, the moral of history is that there will always be obstacles in your way. But if you want to achieve a goal, you have to keep going." Who said that? Who wrote that?
Let's see. Yikes.
This is someone that you wrote to me that you admire.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody I would be following and reading. I'm trying to think of who I wrote that I admire. Can you give me initials?
Yes. M.Y.
Yalom. Is it Yalom? No, that's Urban Yalom. M.Y.
Nobel Peace Prize winner.
Oh, M.Y.?
Am I getting this right? Is it a Y? Yes.
Oh, Mahala.
Malala Yousafzai. Yes.
Yes, thank you. I didn't know that quote. I love that. Yes, she is so inspiring. She and Greta both. That they have done so much good and are so brave at such young ages is mind-boggling, mind-blowing to me.
Her courage is definitely, of our many gifts, is that her courage is, I think, at the top of the list. I got the quote. I read her book. I read her book.
You did.
Her My Story. I saw her over the bulk of the pandemic. I watched an interview between, or David Letterman interviewed her. It's a show on Netflix.
Yes, I like that show.
She was, brilliant and had a great wit and sense of humor and honesty, and her just ability to forgive is amazing as well. But talk about grit. She is the poster person for grit in today's world.
Yeah, she really is so courageous, and her ability to forgive, as you said, is very inspiring and a lesson for all of us. We have been through so much less than that and have difficulty forgiving. And and here she is doing it. I'd say the same about
Desmond. Smile on her face.
Yeah.
And a smile on her face. Can you share with the listeners just some obstacles that you're going through and how you're attacking them?
So one of my obstacles is really watching my thoughts around what it is I am trying to shift in my life or attract more of. So, and I write about that in the book, but I've gotten a lot better about it. But for my husband and I, as I wrote in the book, it felt like we were always bumping into financial obstacles, always. And that was our pattern. And so that's shifted some, and actually it shifted quite nicely in that we have also worked very hard on watching what we say about money, and watching our thoughts in other ways as well. Like instead of saying we can't because we can't afford it, we'll say we'll need to put that off, and I look forward to getting that done, or things like that. We just try to state things in the positive as if we trust it's on its way. And that's made a huge difference in our life. I also feel like we're closer because we don't bump into these places. So that's been a nice bonus.
Sure. You watch the language that you use. I mean, listening to you, I had a similar conversation with my dad about a week ago, and he, warned me sternly, but respectfully, about something I was thinking about. He just told me, Fox, don't even say that. You might think it.
Wow.
Don't even say that. Don't say that, because
Wow.
how like you're talking about how these things can manifest into seeds can turn into trees. In other words,
Yeah, absolutely.
Something
Wow, good for your dad. That's
you and him must be
very
channeling
nice.
each other. I am.
Wow, he's absolutely right. They're powerful.
Yeah, words you can use. Maybe just for me, just being quiet. Right? Thought
Uh-huh.
passes through, okay, but I'm not going to mouth it and
Yeah.
let it exacerbate.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, good. Yeah. And I think when you asked me what obstacle have been working on lately, I think that one that I just mentioned is probably a common one, because our thoughts are almost on automatic, aren't they? Because they've been well oiled,
Yes.
that track. And so we have them often without even being aware of them, these limiting thoughts or things we say about ourselves or what we can expect to get in life. These just are running like a tab left open on our laptop. It's just always on, always running under the radar. We have to be really mindful.
You gotta close that tab.
That's right.
Close the
It's been up
tab.
too long.
Yeah, it's your mind's a muscle, and it's your head sits at the top of your body for a reason. You
Oh, I like that.
controls everything else.
Yeah, that's well said. That's a good point.
Figured that out from my guests over the past 4 years.
Ah,
We are our thoughts. We can't
absolutely.
control our thoughts. And
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Flip them. If you have a negative one, watch them. Be mindful of them.
but we have to work on it. And I think working on it in a communal setting in your abundance circles is just downright brilliant. Downright brilliant.
Oh.
Catherine, as we end up here, I do ask this question. It's the hero's question. So we know all heroes don't wear a cape, but if you had the opportunity to take an hour car ride with one of the following three people, who would it be and why? Would it be Rumi? Would it be Val Kilmer? Or would it be Malala Yousafzai?
Oh. I feel like it would be Val Kilmer because he seems relatable. And because I watched his documentary, there were things that I would want to ask him about, like what was that like when? And I noticed that this happened. Can you tell me more about that? It feels like it'd be fun and interesting and engaging. So it would be Val.
I'm sure Val will be very forthcoming with his,
Yeah, I think he
his
would
answers. Entertaining human being.
Yeah.
For sure. Can you share some advice for people who think they have hit rock bottom?
Yeah. I would ask them to examine what happened that got them there. What were what led up to that rock bottom? What are things that they believe they can change? Could we? And then the last thing would be, can we start with the way you're thinking and what we can do, like to give them something that's free and simple and like immediate. That would be a big one too. Let's have you looking at your thoughts, because if they've hit rock bottom, the chances are it didn't happen overnight, but through a path of doing the same thing over and over again and not getting a different result. So I'd want to look at that with them and explore that and ask them to can we change your thinking? And my advice would be let's
Go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Who uncorked the water hose or the dam? In other words.
Yeah.
Trying to get to the root of the problem right away.
Yeah.
Do you have any further advice for the listeners? Empty your pockets, I would say.
Yeah. Yes, my advice would be, and this is one of the tools in the book, would be get good at receiving. because if you're bad at that, and most of us are, or many of us are, and women actually have a harder time with it than men do for some reason. I think it's cultural. We've been taught that, that we're supposed to be doers, and also even receiving a compliment is difficult, and we don't want to look arrogant when we simply just say thank you. So we brush it off. So for all those reasons, we're pretty bad. You too. And so my advice would be get good at receiving. Don't think of it as grabbing or taking, but just allowing. Just allow the compliment, allow the help, allow the good. Because if you can't receive and you keep asking the universe to send you something, a partner, a different job, more financial abundance, if that's what you're asking the universe to do, but you're bad at receiving, it won't be able to get it to you. And so it starts with being a good receiver, I think. So that would be my advice. Get good at it and start with the little ones. Just, for example, get a compliment, simply say, oh, thank you, period.
Boy, you speak profoundly to me, because I thought I was the only one. Admittedly, I am not good at taking compliments for all of the reasons you just mentioned. But I can see that there are definitely others, maybe most of us out there are not.
It's true. Most of us are not, or up until now, we have not been.
All right, I'm gonna let the wound open up. The light's going to come in, and I'm going to receive
Nice.
compliments. This has been, highly educational for me and inspirational as well. And Catherine, I want to thank you for taking the time out to talk to the universe today.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It was delightful. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Catherine, you are very, very welcome. This will wrap up episode 63 of the What's Your Inspiration podcast. Catherine and I will talk at you all later. Take good care.
You have been listening to the What's Your Inspiration podcast with Fox Buyer, because impact on each other is the greatest currency you could ever have.